Okay, I'm really going to have to jam through this. Let me see, we have choices. I don't think we're going to be able to get all the way through Napoleon unless we go really fast. Napoleon has already been, no, this has already been filmed on and it'll be on Moodle. So what do you think? Should we just very quickly sort of walk through the main points of the radical stage, since you've read that and diaried that? I would expect that that would be fairly fresh, right? You have all interacted with people from other classes during the radical stage, during the terror, right? So is that pretty fresh in your heads? Honesty, honesty?
No.
No. Alrighty then. Well, okay. Has anybody gone to my Digo notes on Digo? Has anybody opened up their Digo, gone to the French Revolution readings, and looked at the highlights and the notes on Digo from your own Digo account? No. They're there. You know what? And you do have to know Napoleon French Revolution. It's a very short reading. You can read, you can study, you can take notes. So even though I'm not able to spoon feed every single bite of every single paragraph to you in lecture, you can read that and you should know it. All right? Especially since I've put the Napoleon sticky notes that I've made on Digo. So I'm still spoon feeding in a way. But I'm telling you, if you need this, if you feel like you don't understand the readings without this, then you really need to think about how you're reading and how you're taking notes and how you're studying, because it doesn't make me hopeful. All right, so where did we leave off? Okay, we talked about the Brunswick Manifesto, right? Right? June, didn't you tell me we talked about the foreign Duke of Brunswick? Did you find out where he's from?
Prussian?
He's Prussian. Okay, good. So a Prussian, in other words, German. Germany didn't become a nation until 1866 or so. So back at this time, there were still Germans, but they didn't live in a country called Germany. They lived in a bunch of little kingdoms. Prussia was one, very powerful one. And surely married to somebody related to either Louis or Marie Antoinette. And so the Prussians were already preparing to invade France to save Louis' skin. And this causes a popular uprising where they storm Louisa Palace. Sean, I'm going to ask you to hit a little touch button. So they're storming Louisa Palace. Go ahead, Sean, hit. Did we talk about this? The Tuileries. Oh, well, the Tuileries was the last slide. That was Louis' Paris Palace, one of them. Today it's a beautiful park in Paris, right on the Seine. It's beautiful. But at this point, when the people of Paris found out that Prussia was sending an army, they got completely paranoid and scared. And so they ended up, well, fearing that the Prussians were going to attack from the outside, and on the inside in Paris, there were going to be some counter-revolutionaries who would start attacking the new government and the revolutionaries from within Paris. So like, oh, we've got enemies inside the city, and then we've got foreign armies coming on the outside. So they got paranoid. Next. And they killed over 1,000 people. Next. And all those people around Europe, Lisa, who were saying, oh, this looks so good, what they're doing in France looks so good, finally there's going to be fairer laws, fairer taxes, all these sorts of things. Even the enlightened people around Europe saw this, the murder of 1,000 people by a Parisian mob. And they were like, oh my God, I'm not sure that I still support this revolution. Mr. Spivey, basketball tonight? Okay, next. Stop it, Spivey. Next. 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 Stop. All right, so there it is. Because of the Brunswick Manifesto, because that was proof that Louis XVI was a traitor to his people, was conspiring, secretly planning to have foreign countries invade and put him back in absolute monarchy. The National Convention, which was part of the National Assembly, they on that day, that week, said there is no more monarch, there is no more monarchy in France. France is no longer a monarchy. They abolished it. And this becomes the year one of the French Republic. Now this is very smart here. Somebody read this and show me that you can read and figure out why somebody would include this pretty interesting little fact here. The decree of fraternity. Why is it pretty interesting? Anybody want to take a shot at this? Picture yourself watching a movie. This is really interesting. Okay, love it. It's Monday morning. Studio audience. Laugh, please. We have already looked at a map. We've seen France surrounded by kingdoms. All across Europe, kingdoms, under kings. What percent of the people in all of those neighboring countries do you think would have been happy to have their own revolution? Overthrow their own king, overthrow their own aristocracy in Prussia, in Austria, in Spain, in Portugal. What percent of the people across Europe do you think would have loved to have had a revolution like France did? What percent of Europe? 7? 70. 80. So we're hearing that yes, except for the top layers of society, most European, normal, common European people, including bourgeoisie, business people, rich people, but without a fancy name, were probably really jealous of France for having a revolution. So look what the French do. They announce to neighboring countries, we're under attack by the Prussian crown. They're about to invade us, these conservative counter-revolutionary forces. We will help any people in any country around Europe overthrow their king and have a revolution like we've done here. And this is a very famous and fantastic quote that somebody at the time said. When France sneezes, all of Europe catches cold. Do you understand that metaphor? France has got a revolution going. The rest of Europe is very scared, just like, oh, get away from me, you've got a cold. Don't get near me, it'll make me sick. The rest of Europe was scared that other kings would start falling and other revolutions would start rising. Don't have time for it. Don't have time for it. Okay. You got a group of people who don't have power, so they're all working together to get power. Who was just removed from power in France?
Monarchy.
The monarchy. So Louis, there's no longer a king. So who has just gained power? The bourgeoisie. What's going to happen now that the bourgeoisie, or the third estate, led by the bourgeoisie, what's going to happen now that the third estate has removed the person that they had been wanting to take power from? Now the person is gone. I'm being a little inaccurate here because they really didn't want to take power from Louis. Louis betrayed them. That's why they did. They wanted to share power with Louis. Okay, so now Louis is gone. Now we've got all the power. What's going to happen to our group? Separate? What do you mean? Good. What? Are going to? They're going to start dividing. Sure, that's what happens. We have been together fighting against a common enemy, but now that enemy is gone, and now we've got all this power to ourselves. Watch what happens. Instead of now being soldiers together in the revolution, they start turning on each other. And this is what's coming next. Because you've got two main groups, the Jacobins and the Girondists. Don't worry about... The Girondists are the bourgeoisie. The Jacobins are the more radicals, like the Sans-Culottes. Again, not really time to go into it, but just watch what happens. The Jacobins were, again, the working class people. The construction workers, the bakers, all these types of people. Butchers and so forth. They didn't really care for the bourgeoisie trying to take all this power. Some nice propaganda. By the way, feel free to add your own propaganda. Any of you who are artistically inclined, feel free to add your own propaganda images. Louis is a pig. Now, at this point, again, remember the Jacobins are further extreme. They want to push the revolution further. The Girondins are the bourgeoisie, the middle-class businessmen. They're kind of in the center. They don't want to be too much more extreme. They basically won what they want to win. But the question now is, what do we do with the king? We've got choices. We can either kill him so that he can't betray us again. He can't write letters to anybody from prison saying, come send more armies to save me and put me back on the throne. And you've got the Jacobins, who are a little more extreme, saying, we can't be nice right now. The man's tried to invade us with foreign allies. We need to kill him. And you know what's going to happen. Who's Louis here? There you are, William. William, did they know that they discovered in a drawer in one of your chambers more secret letters that you had sent and received to other countries, asking for more invasions from foreign armies? Yeah, hello. That's the guillotine. There's the rest of the king, and there's his head. Yeah.
Oh, ew, that's so big. What are you doing?
Because they found not only the Brunswick Manifesto, but other things too. Louis was trying to get more and more people on board with this. So he was a traitor to his people. And they voted, unfortunately, by about 20 points, Louis lost his head. If about 20 more people had voted the other way, Louis would have kept his head. And then our favorite Austrian whore, is that what they call her? Who is she? Who's Marie Antoinette here? Are you Marie Antoinette?
Yes.
You, Austrian. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. And there she is on her way to the guillotine. Do you think she ever dressed like that in her life? Who do you think dressed her up like that? She doesn't look like a queen right now, does she? What does she look like? She looks like a baker's wife to me.
Is that her head? Or that's her hat?
That's her head. That's
Oh,
just
shit, I thought that was her head.
there she is. Do you think her hands are tied behind her back as she's waiting to be placed here? And then, oh, whoops, queen, you dropped something. Oh, it's your head. Now again, you are taking notes here to add details, again, little touches to your diaries. So be active as you're listening to this. Take little details. I have put links to these PowerPoints on Moodle. All right, so now, okay, do we have a crisis? You bet we have a crisis. We originally had a revolution because we wanted a constitutional monarchy. We wanted Louis to keep power, but we wanted to make our own laws. Now we don't have a king. Well, actually we have a king in two parts, head over there, body over there. We don't have a king. Now all we've got is a revolution that can no longer be a constitutional monarchy because we have abolished the monarchy. This revolution has gone further than we planned. Things are spinning out of control. Not only that, all of the other kings around Europe are raising armies and telling them to march to France and take over. Now, what about our economy in France? Is it in good shape?
No.
Absolutely not. Bread prices are still 70, 80% of your monthly income. You're spending 8 out of $10 on bread every day. So they start having emergency meetings. How can we control this? The first thing that they've got to do is this. Look, Louis was writing secret letters telling people to come and invade. That means we do have internal enemies, domestic enemies. There are people inside Paris of the First and Second Estate who are trying to get foreigners to come with armies. We do have to be paranoid. We do have to be scared, and we can't be nice right now. So they start making these revolutionary sort of emergency laws. A tribunal is a court of justice where you put people on trial. Normally it's got a military ring to it. So, counter-revolutionaries. Those people in the First Estate, the priests, those people in the Second Estate, the nobles, people related to the monarchy, any foreigners, we're afraid of them. So we're gonna, just because we suspect them, we're gonna put them on trial. Even